in the Champions League in the fight for the top places. So as I said, one thing is to have a successful preseason, other thing is to start well and getting points in the Premier League. But I think they can be positive going into the first games.
For any goalkeeper who was number 2 to you in your Chelsea career, you feel pretty sorry for them because you were a very solid number 1. Chelsea looks like they're going to have 2 number 1 keepers in their own respect with Kepa and Robert Sanchez next season. How do you see that battle going? And does it surprise you that they're now going to have 2 pretty much number 1 goalkeepers fighting for that spot?
I think it's more situation. Obviously, when you have 2 goalkeepers who aspire to be number 1, then you always have the big competition, which is great because the goalkeepers push each other. But at the same time, you need to keep the motivation to work every day if you are not the one who's playing. So this is something the coach always have to manage. But surely, there is a plan behind that transfer, and I'm sure that if you want to win every competition, then you need to be sure that you have the
Enjoy. And you, mate. Hello. It's the transfer story of the summer, and now Bayern Munich have tabled their final offer for Harry Kane, and they want a quick resolution. Hi, good evening. Welcome along to the Transfer Show. We've got Kaveh Solokol, our chief reporter, Paul Gilmore and Dharmesh Sheth, and we're going to look at the Kane situation from every angle. We'll also round up the rest of the day's transfer news, including another signing for Chelsea and Mauricio Pochettino, and also news on Dusan Vlahovic. Let's start with Harry Kane, though. So, Paul, what is Bayern's bid? Tell us about that.
Well, Mike, we're in the critical stages of these negotiations involving the England captain. Bayern have made their final offer. They feel it's fair and they want a decision quickly from Tottenham. We have had it verified, the Telegraph story from earlier, that there is a deadline on this, midnight tonight. Maybe, that complicates things because it's clearly Bayern's way of putting pressure on Tottenham to get the deal done quickly. Bayern Munich ideally would want Harry Kane in place for their Super Cup match next weekend. So the offer itself, our colleague in Germany, Florian Plettenberg, reporting that the offer is worth €100 million plus add-ons. That does, our information, take that closer to what Tottenham's valuation was. We reported earlier this week that there was at least a £20 million gap in valuation. Well, Bayern believe they have compromised on that. They have got closer, maybe not quite exactly towards Tottenham's valuation, but they feel that they have compromised and they feel it's a fair offer. And so now essentially it is over to Tottenham, and whatever decision they make, that opens the door for Harry Kane to make his final decision. Again, our information that we've said throughout the last few weeks and months is that he would be open to speaking formally with Bayern Munich. Equally, he would be quite relaxed and get on with his football if it all does fall apart, and he still is a Tottenham player at the beginning of the season. But as of this moment in time, it just has a feeling that the end game is near one way or the other, and we're about to learn what's going to happen. But it feels like the England captain, their Tottenham's record goal scorer, the man so associated with this football club, is just maybe the closest he's ever been to leaving Tottenham Hotspur.
Carvey, is this a Bayern bluff?
I mean, I think what Bayern have said is that they want to show Spurs respect, and relations between the club have been good. They've shown Spurs respect by coming to London twice to have meetings with Daniel Levy. Obviously, the amount of stories that there have been, especially in the German media, about Harry Kane, some people may feel that's a bit disrespectful, but that's not down to Bayern Munich. I think Bayern Munich just want to hurry things along a bit, but in transfer windows, you can't impose arbitrary deadlines because, say, the deadline is supposed to be this evening. If that comes and goes, are we really going to believe that Bayern Munich are not going to come back in for him? I think I would only believe it if they went and signed another forward in the same sort of class and the same kind of ability as Harry Kane. I'm not sure there are that many out there. But, obviously Bayern Munich have been chasing him for a long time, and they're getting a little bit impatient. But I don't think Spurs would take too kindly to being told this is a deadline. Don't think Spurs would like people doing business with them in that way. But we can't be 100% sure that that's what Bayern Munich have done.
Spurs can only play with the cards they're dealt with, and their hand is weaker now than it was last year. So this time they maybe have to do something.
Well, they maybe have to do something if they want to make money from selling Harry Kane, because he's got 12 months left on his contract. I think what's interesting is his position. As far as he's concerned, he's happy at Spurs. He's happy working with the new manager. He would have no problems whatsoever staying at Spurs. He would actually look forward to playing again for Spurs this season.
So why doesn't he tell us? Why doesn't he come out and say, I want to play for Spurs. That's me done. Let's move on.
Well, he doesn't need to because he's a Spurs player. He's a Spurs player. He doesn't need to come out and say, I want to play for Spurs. He is a Spurs player and he's happy to play for Spurs. The only issue he has is, at the moment, he does not want to extend his contract. That may change during the season. He may change his mind. He may be convinced. Things may be going really well on the pitch. And he may then sign a new contract and stay at Spurs for the rest of his career. So it's up to Spurs to decide. Do we take the risk that he doesn't sign a new contract and he can leave next summer and pick whichever club he wants to go to, or do we cash in on him now? But as far as he's concerned, if they do decide to cash in on him now, Bayern Munich is a fantastic new challenge. He knows if he goes to Bayern Munich, he's almost guaranteed to win trophies. It'll be a new experience for him and his family. He'll be in the Champions League again. Bayern Munich, one of the favourites to win the Champions League every season. I think from his point of view, he just needs his future to be sorted out by next week, because he just thinks it'd be disrespectful and unfair to Spurs fans, the club, everyone associated with Spurs, if he was to run out in a Spurs shirt again against Brentford a week on Sunday and then after that leave. If I was a Spurs fan, I would be thinking, let's just make it to Sunday. And he comes out on the pitch and he's wearing a Spurs shirt, and I am going to believe, Harry hasn't said it, but I'm going to believe what people have been saying.
Deadlines you told me to
but if he's playing on that Sunday, Harry's hasn't said it himself, but we know that in his mind he will stay at Spurs if he's playing against Brentford. If I was a Spurs fan, that is what I would be focusing on, that game.
OK, Dharmesh, Bayern Munich clearly want the player. Now, you've sat in that chair for the last few weeks and said to us, why do Bayern have to pay the money? They don't have to pay the money, there's no one else in the game. Are they now in a position where if they don't pay the money, they don't get the player?
I think it's two ways to look at it. What Paul Gilmore was saying before, give you a full name there, sorry, it's that serious. What Paul was saying before was they want it done as quickly as possible. There's still 4 weeks of the transfer window to go. But if we take it on face value, yes, they want to get it done quickly as possible because Bayern Munich need to bring in a striker. They haven't really replaced Robert Lewandowski when he left, and they just about sneaked the Bundesliga title without him last season. So they want to bring in a striker. Now, if it's going to be Harry Kane, and that's who they want it to be, then they want to get it done as quickly as possible, as Paul said. But if they can't get it done as quickly as possible, they're going to have to look at alternatives, because with a 1 month to go of the window, they can't just go all the way to the end not knowing with a degree of certainty that they're going to get him or not. So that's one way of looking at it. We look at it on face value. That's what Bayern Munich are thinking. Or is this a little bit of brinkmanship that Bayern Munich are trying to do here by almost putting it out there, right, by the end of this week, if it's not sorted, we're out, and try and push Tottenham into a corner potentially by taking a fee that's still a high transfer fee, but possibly not what Tottenham would fully want, around £100 million or whatever the figure would be. If Bayern Munich don't want to go that high, which probably you would think they wouldn't want to go that high, given all of the factors that are at play here. He's entered the final year of his contract. He's not going to sign a new contract in this transfer window. And they don't want to sell him to a Premier League club. So if they don't sell him in this transfer window to a foreign club, then it opens up the door for him to leave for free next summer to a Premier League club. I think Bayern Munich will look at all of those factors and think, we can maybe get a better deal than what Tottenham are after here. So, two ways to look at it. Face value, yes, but they need a striker, but also maybe just putting a seed of doubt into Tottenham's mind as well.
Paul, we touched on this. Daniel Levy's position in all this. He's had an ultimatum served to him today. How will he take that?
I think that Tottenham will want to do this on their terms. Remember, they do have a player who is guaranteed 25 goals a season, maybe even more in terms of in the Bundesliga. They know that they also have that side of Nagus, but they also know that he's got 1 year left. What I would say is they, as a club, they look out for their best interests, as all clubs do, and that they will be trying to get the absolute maximum from this deal, knowing that they have got such a goal scorer, such an elite goal scorer on their books currently. So I think that it won't affect it too much, but I don't think they'll necessarily pay any attention to deadlines. But I think they also have to take it seriously if Bayern are starting to make those noises that they want a decision quickly, and they have to weigh up in their decision that, you know, is this the last possible chance to get such a fee for Harry Kane? Because if they get what they want, which is at least £100 million, and get that kind of transfer fee, remember that's the kind of fee that Manchester City were talking about paying 2 years ago when Kane had 3 years left on his contract. So they were totally justified in taking their stance a couple of years ago. That's business. They wanted to keep Kane. He was in a long contract. That balance of power has just shifted a little bit, and the information that we've got around Kane and Bayern Munich and the fact that he is open to speaking to them formally, should Tottenham be happy with the deal. Again, as Kaveh was saying, Harry Kane very respectful towards Tottenham. He has a lot of love for that club. But if they were to accept it, we're now hearing the likes of the numbers of possible contracts, a possible 5-year contract, the potential to earn in the region, Harry Kane, £11 million annually. as a salary, and that's net salary. And that will be broken down into a basic salary, number of games played, bonuses. So we're starting to hear those kinds of numbers that Harry Kane will be open to speaking formally. It makes you just think that if this offer is accepted, yes, Kane has a decision to make, but there is the potential, we're hearing, that this all could be resolved quite quickly if Tottenham accept this offer. And that, to me, points to the closest we've ever possibly been to Harry Kane leaving Tottenham.
I was saying that, you know, Bayern Munich probably think they're the only show in town at the moment. And it's kind of a one-horse race for Harry Kane in the remainder of this transfer window, or so it seems. And so maybe they can threaten Tottenham with, well, if you're not going to accept our offer, we'll just try and get him on a pre-contract agreement in January. But on the flip side, I think Tottenham can play on the fact that, well, you're the only show in town at the moment.
At the moment.
Do you think that there's going to be only one club in for Harry Kane when he's free? So it can work both ways. It's all about compromise. I know Paul's used that word for a long time in this transfer window when it comes to Harry Kane. And that's what it might come down to if Bayern Munich can nudge themselves even closer towards Tottenham's valuation and Tottenham can kind of relax their valuation a little bit more, then there's a possibility of doing the deal.
All right, so Spurs may not like it, but there is a deadline. It is midnight. 1 minute past midnight. Is Harry Kane going to still be a Spurs player? I'm going to start with you, Carvey.
I mean, I think probably he will be. And I think, you know, we're talking about Harry Kane a lot and Bayern Munich this and that and this and that the whole time. I think it would be a really big blow if Harry Kane was to leave Spurs, not just for Tottenham and Tottenham supporters, but for the Premier League and English football, because he's been one of the best players I've ever seen. He's an absolute gentleman. He's an ambassador for England, English football, the FA, the England team, Spurs, the Premier League. He's the face of English football. And Bayern Munich will be absolutely delighted, and the Bundesliga will be absolutely delighted that they have managed to sign, if they do, one of the greatest English players of all time, the England captain, the leading England goal scorer. So I think if he goes, unless you're an Arsenal supporter, everyone's going to feel a little bit like a Spurs supporter, because, you know, like children, school children, you know, young kids who are playing football, he's their idol. He's the person you look up to. He is like who you dream of being when you grow up. So I think it would be a massive blow, and I think it would be a big decision for him as well. Even if Spurs were to say to him, you know, call him and say to him, look, we've accepted this offer, I think it'd be really, really difficult for him to leave, you know, his home, Spurs, English football, you know, all the supporters around the country that he has. But as I said, even if he goes, I'm sure he'll come back one day and try and break that Premier League record.
1 minute past 12.
Yeah.
Is he Tottenham or Bayern Munich player?
1 minute past 12. I'm not too sure, because I don't know Tottenham's position at this time on this deadline. And I think
1 minute past 12 when? When? September the 1st or this weekend?
Tonight?
No,
Tonight. Oh.
Yeah, I think
it's a deadline.
I think Bayern Munich want it done quickly, and the deadline, whether Tottenham will respond to that, we don't know yet. That's the position. We don't know what they're going to do. But the fact that these negotiations are so advanced, and that there's, again, a talk of all these numbers, and it does feel like the end game is near, whether it's 1 minute past midnight, whether it's Sunday, whether it's Monday. Remember, there's a game on Sunday as well, and I think if any deal was agreed before Sunday's game, that might be a way of, if it comes to that, and if he does go, it could be a kind of goodbye if he is still there for that game. Because I think if you speak to most Tottenham fans, they will, similar to what Cave was saying there about Harry Kane is such a brilliant role model and goal scorer. He's given Tottenham fans so much joy at that club. They will be maybe happy, not happy is the wrong word, but the fact that he's not going to another Premier League club will certainly be seen as a plus.
So does he stay or does he go?
I think the direction of travel is that my gut feeling is he's going to be a Bayern Munich player, but also that comes with the caveat until the deal is agreed. The simple fact is no deal is agreed yet. Whether it's 1 minute past 12, whether it's Sunday, I'm not sure, but that's my gut feeling.
Right, so we've got one for Spurs at 1 minute past midnight, one for Bayern Munich. You get the casting vote. where do you think he'll be?
You're actually saying at 1 minute past midnight.
I don't necessarily think. I don't necessarily think he'll be there 1 minute
Direction of
past
travel,
midnight.
Dharmesh, answer the question.
Well, I think he'll be a Spurs player, but I think the direction of travel, the way it's going now, is very possible to be a Bayern Munich player before the end of the transfer window.
Okay.
Is that all right?
That's a good answer. Yeah,
That's okay.
And he could stay at Spurs.
So, yeah, great. So, 2-1, I think he's on his way to Bayern Munich. If he does go, I mean, Carve's made a great point. Paul, how much of a blow is it, not just to Spurs, but to English football?
I'll take the English football bit first. I think it's a massive loss to the Premier League. The Premier League, one of the kind of elite league in world football. Harry Kane has been one of the stars of that league. So it's a massive loss for English football, for Tottenham as well. But I think, you cannot, if you're Tottenham, you don't try and replace Harry Kane, you don't replace somebody like that. Instead, I think we'll see that shift in the way they play, and very much Ange Postecoglou stamping his authority and using the money to improve his squad.
OK, we've run out of time. Are you staying or are you going after the break?
I think I'm going.
He's going.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that. Our director's gone, is he? Yes, he is. The other two are going to stay, which is great. And I'm going to stay because we're going to talk about the rest of the transfer news, which includes Arsenal and Chelsea. Loads more to fit in. See you in a moment.
done. If a deal can be struck, it's understood Henderson would come in as first choice as Nottingham Forest, and Matt Turner would provide competition for Henderson. And if he was to go as well, we think Manchester United might have to go into the market to bring in another goalkeeper if they're home. So it's a lot of domino effects that would have to come into play here.
OK, all right, Paul, what's going on at Chelsea?
Well, Chelsea have confirmed the signing of the defender Axel Disasi from Monaco. He signed a 6-year contract, so fitting in with their policy of trying to tie these promising young players down to as long as possible. They're trying to build for the future. They're trying to build that kind of tight-knit unit that can take them on and beyond, and under Mauricio Pochettino and have sustained success over that period. The fee, we're told, is around £38.8 million, and we know that Lawrence Stewart, one of the co-sporting directors, had a hand in signing Disasi for Monaco back in 2020, so he's been involved as well. So yeah, Disasi, a Chelsea player, and the latest signing for them. OK,
got to whiz through a couple, running out of time. There was that talk, Darmish, of that swap deal, Lukaku and Vlahovic. Where are we with that?
Yeah, this is interesting. The talks are continuing between Chelsea and Juventus over that proposed swap deal that would see Romelu Lukaku go to Juventus, Dusan Vlahovic come to Chelsea. Not an easy deal to do, though, because Juventus feel Vlahovic, who's 23 years old, is actually worth more than Lukaku, so they'd want cash plus Lukaku for Vlahovic to go the other way. Discussions are centring around how much Chelsea would potentially have to pay on top of giving Juventus Lukaku. We think that Juventus have already discussed personal terms with intermediaries, and personal terms wouldn't be a problem with regard to Romelu Lukaku. But when Chelsea broached trying to bring in Vlahovic without any kind of swap deal earlier on in the window, we think wages might have been a stumbling block. So all of those factors make this deal really, really difficult one to do. OK, real quick, you've got 15 seconds. Moises Caicedo, what's going on there? Chelsea still want him. Brighton are understood to think no one's going to meet their valuation. Chelsea bid 80 million. That was their latest bid. Rejected. Brighton want closer to 100 million. We expect Chelsea to go back in for Moises Caicedo before the window is closed, though. While that's all happening, Chelsea still strong interest in Romeo Lavia. No formal bid as well as yet. Liverpool are making all the running on that one. Transfer window never lets us down. We're back at 7 for much more in the meantime. I'm back after the break with Sky Sports News. See ya.